So you've been to your doctor and you just found out you have irritable bowel syndrome or an inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's, or maybe you have chronic headaches or migraines or skin condition like eczema, or even some joint pain like rheumatoid arthritis. And he tells you, well, just change your diet or avoid your food triggers. Or he might go a step further and do some sort of food allergy or food sensitivity testing. So this symbol represents all of the foods in our food supply, and there's 42,000 items in a typical grocery store. And there's no test on the planet that's ever going to be large enough to test for all 42,000 items that are in your grocery store. So most tests will be 100 foods, 200 foods, 400, but that's a very small proportion of the total. And out of the foods that were tested, you might have a reaction to corn, and you might have a reaction to rice, and you might have a reaction to chicken. So the doctor just says, well, avoid chicken and rice and corn. Well, that's fine. You might feel a little bit better. But what about the trout you're reactive to, or the salmon you're reactive to, or the butternut squash you're reactive to? You're continuing to be exposed to a lot of foods that were not tested, and they're still reactive. So if you're still exposing your immune system to reactive foods, you're never going to get 100% better. So what do? We have to flip the way we approach the diet and do it differently. What we want to do is stay within our safe zone and not look at the foods that were reactive. We actually want to look at, let's say you were reactive to 20% of the foods that were tested. Well, that leaves 80% of the foods that were not reactive. And if you're eating only your 80% of the foods that are 100% safe, then you're going to get better because you're eating your safe foods and you're avoiding all of the other foods on the planet that you're reactive to. So your immune system will be put in a isolated situation where you're not exposed to anything, and it will calm down very quickly. The food sensitivity test that I use that's very effective is called the Mediator Release Test, or we call it MRT for short. MRT. And the protocol that approaches it a different way but very effective is called LEAP. So you might find one term or the other. Sometimes they're used interchangeably. So let me show you what some sample results look like. The sample results look like this. There's categories like this for a lot of different things like fruits and vegetables and meats and proteins and dairy products and even seasonings like rosemary. So what we want to do with these results is each bar graph represents a different food. So you might have apples, or you might have broccoli, or you might have cauliflower, and you might have beef or chicken up here. And then down here, you might have some foods like salmon that you might be reactive to. So we don't really want to focus on this. We want to focus on what you can eat. And we test for 120 foods and 30 chemicals, some naturally occurring and some not. So when you're only eating your safe tested foods, your reactions are going to drop, your inflammation is going to drop, your symptoms are going to improve very, very quickly, because not only are you avoiding these reds and yellows, but you're also avoiding all of the other foods that weren't tested and also reactive. Let me just show you one of my irritable bowel patients and see how quickly he got better with this approach. He started out with 22 points in his digestive symptoms and 107 points in his global symptoms. So when somebody has IBS, that's typically not all that's bother them, Sometimes they have migraines or headaches, or they may also have joint pain or cardiovascular issues. They have a lot of other symptoms. Maybe they're not sleeping very well. So the red bar graph represents all of his other symptoms, not just the digestive. And in just a matter of 10 days of eating only the tested foods, his total score went from 107 to 52, and that was his total overall symptoms. He just felt much better overall. But take a look at his digestive symptoms. They almost disappeared in 10 days. They went from 22 points down to 2, and then after 30 days, they were still very good at 3. And his overall symptoms dropped by 80% in 30 days. That is the power of eating only your safe foods, and that is why the LEAP diet and the Mediator Release Test are what I use, and it's the most effective anti-inflammatory diet protocol on the planet. If you want to find a nutritionist or dietitian that can apply the LEAP protocol and the Mediator Release Test, all you need to do is go online and search for a certified LEAP therapist near you.